Hey sister. Hey sister.
Hey sisters, welcome back to the Hey Sister podcast, where we explore the experiences and careers of other nurses, asking our 3 favourite questions. Where did you start? Where did you think you'd end up? And where did you actually end up?
Today we're joined by Maddie, who joins me in ED, but has a long story, I guess you could say, before ED. And you've just recently been married.
Yeah.
You're a wifey now. So we're excited to hear your story and kind of your journey through nursing.
Great.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you never feel like it's very much when you're experiencing it yourself. But then when you reflect and look back, you think, wow, I've actually come so far from where I was as a new grad. You know, my mum actually showed me my first day photo.
Yeah.
And I had my nurse's watch and everything. It's so cute. And to think back of what I found was scary back then to what I feel is scary now even is so vastly different.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been
Well, let's go
journey.
even before nursing. Why did you start nursing? What got you into nursing? Was it your number one pick? What was it?
So I had a lot of family influence. I have a lot of family in medicine. My cousin is a nurse, my grandma's a nurse, my dad's in psychology, and my uncle's a doctor. So we had I grew up with a lot of that terminology, that talk about medicine, and it felt very familiar. I was offered the early acceptance program in high school to do Bachelor of Nursing, and I thought, oh, why not? It's horrible, it doesn't come from any compassionate background and have some life-changing experience in hospital. But yeah, so that's kind of where it led me, and yeah, I am today still doing nursing 7 years down the track.
And how did you find uni? Did you like school? Did you like uni?
I was not a fan of school, but I always loved biology. So I always loved getting really hands-on. So I knew I wanted to do something hands-on and not be, I guess, at a desk. I knew I wanted to do something that got me doing things and I could talk to anyone. And so my mum always said she wanted me to be at least somewhere that I was talking to people. But yeah, so I thought it was perfect for nursing then because it's a lot of hands-on work.
Yeah.
Not always the stuff you want to be touching, but that's okay.
And endless talking.
And endless
Ever have a
talking.
day where you don't talk.
Absolutely, and there is nothing like having a cup of tea, you know, with an oldie and getting them to talk about their story. It's always really nice. But yeah, so at uni, it was hard. It was horrible, but I got through. You know, I ended up my last final exam on anatomy and physiology. I ended up getting 94% on it, which was like the miles above anything that I'd received throughout my entire time at uni.
Amazing.
So it was really nice to end on a high and maybe kind of gain that confidence finishing uni, then going into your post-grad to go, okay, maybe I can actually do this. It's not just what I thought I could do, I can actually do it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, huge journey. And we were just looking at grad pics and a little bit of a throwback Yeah, it seems like so long ago. Like you said, you look back and you really think how much you've achieved in that time.
Incredible. Yeah.
Definitely. And then your first year as a nurse. How was it? What was the application process? How did you find the whole thing of getting there and working? And
Yeah, well, I had all my placements down at and I wanted to apply for this. I always wanted to get in the I can't remember exactly why I put it on a pedestal, that it was just this, elite facility that had fantastic training for new nurses, and I thought, great, that's right where I need to be. And I ended up applying for the pool there because I didn't want to commit to anything. I didn't know where I wanted to work, and I thought it was the best option. And it basically was a sink or swim situation. You basically have to sink or swim. That was how they ran the grad program, which I think was actually the best thing for me as a new nurse, because you were forced to learn skills on the spot, and as much as I try to prepare you at uni, it is nothing like real nursing at all. And I think I gained so much out of that 6 months because it was an accelerated program, and you just did it for 6 months and it was fantastic. Yeah.
So you both did similar thing.
Yeah.
And that was like your first offer? Like how did that
So I had applied for the 3 different positions. I think one was I honestly can't remember. I think one was an ortho ward One was cardiology, and then the other one was the pool.
Yeah, right.
And then I got the offer from the pool,
Yeah.
and I did the panel interview and thought I was going to pee myself
Yeah.
in the interview because I first ever nursing interview.
Yeah.
And they said afterwards, they said, "Oh no, we loved you. You were fantastic. We want to offer you, the grad program." And it was great.
And because yours,
It wasn't
later.
an official grad program. It's because we got the IMR contract, which we did for the 3 months, and then, you know, once you're in a service, they're not going to just get rid of a group of nurses that are all checked in and all that kind of stuff. So then they offered us a graduate pool, which I think the 3 months gave you an opportunity in the health service without being clinical, seeing how wards work, seeing the run of things, which I think was a nice kind of introduction.
Even at such a big hospital, just knowing where to go so that you first, you know, when they say, "Oh, go to medical imaging and pick up your patient," you know, like, someone come with me.
Oh, I still get lost now. I can't go anywhere without a warding now. You know, you're in like this whole world in ED that you don't realise that there's an entire hospital happening around you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I guess consumed with your department.
I think that's probably with most any sort of
Area.
clinical nursing. Yeah.
So your first year in pool, you enjoyed it?
Yes,
Yeah.
I did. I hated the first 3 months. I cried a lot and thought, "Oh my God, I can't do this. Like, this is so much harder than I thought it was going to be." And, you know, I distinctly remember this moment. I had been sent to one of the wards there. It wasn't exactly the most welcoming ward for pool nurses, especially as a new grad. And I had given medication, like, it was like half an hour earlier than what it was meant to. And I felt so bad. I was like, "Oh my God, they're going to have some kind of reaction. It's too early from the last dose. It's meant to be like, you know, 6 hours apart, not 5.5. And oh my God, my world crumbled. And I remember going to the team leader going, "I'm so sorry. I can't believe I've done this." And she's like, "Oh, honey, you could give him like up to an hour beforehand. Don't worry about it." And oh my gosh, to think that was my biggest worry back then to what I'm dealing with in ED now is hilarious, but all relevant to the time you're in. So
I think all the grads on my unit when I first started, we were all just crying in the hallways.
Just like, "I can't do this. Like, this is not what I thought it was going to be." And
the grad preceptors would come up and you just like automatically start tearing up. And you're like, "Mom!" Because it was so overwhelming. And I think the nurses that you work with, probably like what you're saying now, you become so desensitized to what is significant event that when you're a grad, you kind of don't feel like you can reach out to your colleagues as much because they don't understand just how daunting it actually is because it's been so long since they've been there. So when you do get the grad preceptors come to visit, it's like, "Oh my God, help!
Like, help me! I don't know what I'm doing."
I have to admit, like, pretty much 100% of the time, you're doing exactly like you are exactly where you should be, and you're overthinking it, and you are. I think, like you said too, though, like uni doesn't always prep you to get
It's
there.
almost like they don't kind of instill in you it's all about medication safety. Yes, absolutely, but there's no ever discussion on how to communicate in a way, I feel, with your colleagues and how to communicate and kind of the ways that you develop relationships as a nurse is very different to what, you do is look at the checkout chick.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many other skills you have to learn on the spot that uni doesn't prepare you for.
And I think sometimes it's like almost tick boxy. Like, I remember learning about communication and like psychosocial development and support of of people looking outside of just the physical patient. But what they taught you versus what you actually have capacity to implement. Like, they taught you, sit and have a cup of tea with your patients and learn about their life story, and then you'll learn more, and through that you'll understand little bits and pieces that you can then implement in their care plan, and it's like all these lovely things. And then as a grad, you feel like you've failed because you don't have time to do that, and they don't teach you about great things to do, but have that as a shower conversation while you're showering your patient. How do you make that a safe space, but also have these, private conversations about their personal life and understand that, but building it into like your routine. I found that was like a big,
Yeah.
big challenge.
It's horrible, and then you also then face that challenge of, yes, it's great you've had that conversation when you get the chance to have it, and then you know, inform the medical team about it, and they go, did you do their blood pressure?
Yeah.
You know, but I guess it's also then doctors also trying to figure out their role in what they're doing as well, because a lot of the time on the wards it's residents and interns. And,
Again though, communication, and what does that, you learn about multidisciplinary communication, but then you don't actually understand what that looks like being implemented, because most areas you don't do rounding as a full team, like you don't do ward rounds as a multidisciplinary team. So what you've learnt at uni is automatically wiped out. Like it doesn't look like that unless you're doing like maybe case management, or you're doing like case meetings and that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, when I was case manager, that's exactly what we did.
Yeah.
And it was really beneficial because you then also had a really good idea of what was going on the ward.
Yeah.
So you then knew from a workload perspective on different nurses on the ward where they are, what their actual clinical background is too. Because when you're going around talking to them, letting them know, and they'll go, oh, I actually don't know how to do that, or I don't know how to refer that. And you go, great, so you already have a really good idea of what's going on the floor and who might need a little bit more support from like the clinical team out the back too.
Yeah, complex, very complex.
Yes.
So I think
it doesn't pay for any of that, so that's okay.
Yeah, but it's validating to hear like the more nurses that you speak to. Even we interviewed a grad on our last her last episode, and the same sentiment as well. So I think it's probably comforting for anyone who is perhaps listening and is a grad or looking to go through nursing, that they have that shared understanding that we're kind of all in this together.
All just trying to figure it out as we go along.
Yeah.
And that is one of the cool things about nursing, I guess. Like, you have that shared, emotional aspect to your work.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Anyone will understand the trauma and PTSD of nursing.
Yeah, exactly why we wanted to create this platform, because you can literally say, "Hey, sister," and the sisters get it.
Oh, I just know. They just know.
Yeah. Actually, caveat. I watched a TikTok the other day of a Irish nurse who said that she came to Australia and a doctor was saying, "Hey sister, can you grab this? Hey sister." And she was a black woman and found it really offensive because like for her it was like a really cultural grounding, like sense of belonging to that culture. And she was finding it so offensive that this doctor was addressing her as sister. And then she said they provided more context and had a more, further discussion around it, and then she was totally fine with it. But she kind of put this like PSA out as like, just to let anyone know if they're going to work in Australia and they're saying, "Hey sister," this is like their context of "Hey sister." So then I was sitting in bed and looked at my husband and I was like, "Oh my God, I think my podcast's offending people."
Oh my God, am I racist? I didn't know.
Yeah, so that's my big caveat for this episode, is that "Hey Sister" has a very different context. And when the intention is that when we say "Hey Sister," 9 times out of 10, I thought, nurses would understand next. My understanding is that sisters, as in like nuns, were nurses.
They were nurses.
And
that's
so
why you had the
it's just
matron
been,
and
and now it's just historically come through that nurses are still addressed as sisters, just throwing back to that. And now it is, in a sense, like we were saying, it's like a sisterhood. You all feel and understand and have that shared experience. But
absolutely.
Anyway, sorry, a bit of a detour there.
nothing wrong with that. So, case management. There's obviously a story between a grad year and case management. Kind of give us the storyline to how you got to that role, what that role looks like, because not a lot of people get to have a role in case management and how that kind of looks.
A lot of units might not even have case management. You know what it is.
So from my grad program, I then got a contract. It was just before I finished actually my grad program that I had seconded to urology for 3 months, and it was going to cover the last 3 months of my grad program. And so I was there, and within 2 months the NUM said to me that I didn't even know I was having an interview. He did not announce that it was an interview, didn't give me any pre-warning, just pulled me off the floor one afternoon, and the clinical facilitator was in there. The team is beautiful there. Like, I had a fantastic time there. But yeah, I had gone in there, asked me a few questions, and I remember stopping going,
What's this about?
can I ask, sorry, what is that? Have I done something wrong? Like, I'm just wondering. And they looked at each other and laughed. And I was like, okay, what am I being left out of? And she's like, no, we want to offer you a permanent position. We just needed to do a formal interview. I was like, was this an interview? I immediately felt stressed, felt myself like sit up straighter and breathe faster and, you know, all the stress you feel for an interview. And they said, no, we didn't want you, because we know what you're like. You've been here for 2 months. We just wanted to do this officially. We didn't want you to panic, so we didn't tell you it was an interview. And then offered me the permanent position then and there.
Wow.
And so then I stayed on there for another 3.5 years. So I did obviously floor nursing, and that was different in a surgical ward. But it was great to have a home where you don't have as a pool nurse. So it was really good to have a nursing family. You see familiar faces every day, and you didn't get to do that obviously on the pool. So it was a nice change, taking away that stress element of, you know, trying to assimilate with a new team every day, which was really nice. But yeah, and then so from there I had let them know that I wanted to kind of move up and know more about the other clinical side of nursing. So they got me into team leading, and so I did team leading for a bit, and then they said, actually, we're doing job share between team leading and case managing. So I went into case management, which was based in the ward. I would run the follow-up calls in the outpatient clinic downstairs. I'd do outpatient appointments that we'd run every Friday, and I would facilitate all the discharges on the ward. So they would be all like follow-ups, so when they have to come back for catheter changes, I'd organise flights, because we do a lot of stuff between us and Mackay. And so I'd have to facilitate flights, taxis, transfers, community care if they've got back dressings, like all blue care referrals, my care referrals. I did a lot of that kind of stuff, and it was fantastic. I loved my job as case manager, and obviously it was an acting CM role, so that was always nice to put on the resume. But yeah, so I really enjoyed that. But then really from there, it was, I thought, I can't be stagnant. I love to constantly change, challenge myself and move forward. And the only step forward from that would be either clinical facilitator or NUM left in that department. And the clinical facilitator there had been there for 10 years and was not retiring anytime soon and loved her job. So, and I thought, right, and the NUM had been there for 25 years.
Wow,
so
what a stable unit.
It was incredibly stable, until I left. Everything went south. I had left, gone to cath lab, and we had about 15 staff leave. It was absolute chaos. Clinical facilitator ended up leaving, which was ironic because that's where I wanted to go, but everything happens for a reason. So, But yeah, so I love case management. It was probably my favourite role that I've done really in nursing. Then I went to cath lab. That was a really fantastic opportunity to be around that like critical care.
What made you
aspect.
decide on cath lab from like ward nursing? What was the
big difference.
Night
draw
shift,
card?
actually.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do night shift anymore and have to work every weekend.
But then you got on call
And then I got on call, and then it was so much worse than what I would have picked night shift over on call work, so that was a bit of a slap in the face. But yeah, it was a Monday to Thursday job.
Yeah.
You know, it was great, and it was a small knit team, and
Yeah.
it was really good. Same hospital, so I didn't really have to change too much, which was nice.
What's the nursing role in cath lab? Because I know like the scientist role and the medical role, but nursing was
It's
actually.
like procedural support.
Yeah, so you're scrub scout.
Yeah.
So you'll scrub in with the cardiologist, and you'll do the procedures. So you'll do the angiograms, we do the pacemakers and all that kind of thing. And then you also do part of the recovery afterwards, so the removal of like the femoral outlines.
Do you guys do the cardioversions as well?
Yeah, we do cardioversions as well. Yeah. We actually had the reason I left cath lab was a horribly traumatic reason. I ended up leaving there because, well, on-call work, yes, but like we had a really traumatic on-table arrest. Unbeknownst to us, because it's an angiogram, she actually had a massive blockage there, and she was a 45-year-old woman that had no cardiac history, except for then she failed her stress test. She arrested on the table in front of us. And we ended up putting 5 stents in her. She survived, she made it, we got her back on the table, and then got discharged 3 days later from cardiology.
4.
3 days later.
3 days later,
Wow.
I'm like, woman, you were dead. Like, we were doing CPR on the table while I'm like trying to manage this. I'm trying to feed him stents to try and bring her back, and then they brought her back because she got returned blood flow. Yeah. And I resigned the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah. My mum came to me because thankfully it was the last case of the day, so everyone was sitting in the scientist's box, so everyone was there. All of our senior cardiologists were there. Everyone came in rushed. It was
So it was
unbelievable.
supportive
Team,
in a sense.
incredibly supportive moment for it to happen. But yeah, it was life-changing for me. to say
Yeah,
the least.
absolutely.
And my mum came to me straight away and she said, please don't quit after this. And I said, oh, I actually can't talk to you right now. I think I need to go home. And she goes, no, you can't leave. We need to talk about this. That was insane. Like, you did an incredible job. That was your first day scrubbed in and you didn't look stressed once. You were so calm. You didn't panic. You just stayed focused. You went through what you like learned. It was amazing. And I was like, I think I can't do this. I can't do this. And she's like, no, like it's fine. This never happens. And I'm like, no, that's not reassuring at all because it's happened. And ended up writing my letter of resignation, and she completely understood, and she said she'd welcome me back anytime. But I'm like, I can't come back to this. And then I went to ED because I thought I want to become more comfortable with this. I want to be more comfortable with these cardiac arrest situations.
Wow, that's a big step.
Yeah, and like being that person, because I thought, well, there's no point in running from this horrible fear that I've now developed from it. Like I thought I'd confront it face on, and then went to ED.
Wow, that's amazing. And how's that changed you now?
It's created a whole new set of fears. I feel like I tackled that one, and now we've got a whole new set.
I feel like as nurses, I have never had so much anxiety about can't play golf.
Oh,
you don't know what will happen.
Well, it's always, you never know what's going to happen.
You've always got these crazy anxieties because you see the most bizarre stuff. You don't? I think I get things come in and it's like, one time I had a hay bale crush my patient and they came in fully internally bleeding and crushed from a hay bale because it dropped on them, and I think, can't go near hay bales now. Like,
I'm done.
I've just got all these irrational fears.
my fears are just the department. So I am on when I get there. Like, you are on straight away. I immediately enter fight or flight.
Yeah.
And I am just switched on.
Yeah.
It
On the lookout for like
destroyed my mental health.
Yeah.
Destroyed it. But it's because I did not handle it correctly.
Yeah.
I thought, let's sweep this under the rug. It's fine, right? This was just an episode. Nurses go through this all the time. Let's just throw myself back into work. I had a week off work in between that incident and starting an ED. That was it. There was no counselling. There was no talking about it further. There was nothing else. And I reckon it's just been like this little thing in the background that's
sitting there that you thought was a way.
That you thought was like, no, this was a learning opportunity. No, honey, this was like really mentally damaging. Like, it was horrible. It's crazy. You're forever learning as a nurse. Like, you never really stop learning. When you stop learning, you stop becoming a good nurse. I reckon.
Equally, like a lot of nursing, you're set up for, not for failure, but you're not set up to thrive.
No,
you're not working in departments that are quiet and
No.
fully resourced.
No. But yeah, so
wow,
it's been a journey, and now in ED, I've actually decided to take better care of my mental health. And so now I'm in peds and emergency full time. So it's great. It's been the best shift in my career possible.
Yeah.
So you've now found yourself permanently in PDD, which you're enjoying, and it's kind of your place for now. Is it where you thought you'd end up? Where did you think you're going to end up? Where do you think you want to end up? You know, all those future kind of questions.
Yeah, so by 5 years of nursing, I set myself as a goal that I wanted to be in emergency, which I did achieve, and I have been there for almost 3 years now. Which has been an incredible learning opportunity for me, and I've learned a lot about myself in the time of also dealing with the stress of emergency, and what I am ready to deal with and what I'm not, which is great. Good learning opportunity. And I did not ever see myself working in pediatrics, ever. So I've never worked in peds before ED. We don't have a lot of young children in the family. I haven't had a lot of exposure to kids. It's very interesting that then I've found this niche area and absolutely love it. And love working with children. It is so fun. You can be so creative and you get to create such wonderful, fun relationships with the kids. And everyone always said, oh my God, but how do you deal with the parents? And it's like, what do you mean? Tell the parents you care, that you understand their fears and, you know, show genuine concern for their child.
No issues. Yeah.
You have an AIN per patient. You're not having to watch the patient. You're not having to deal with bodily fluids. You know, you're not having to do any of that. The mum, dad, family does it all for you. And then you get to just create this really wonderful, fun relationship with the kid and be a part of the start of their journey in healthcare. And create it as a really fun, positive experience. So then they don't feel scared to go to a GP, they don't feel scared to come back to ED. You know, when they feel unwell, they are confident to then tell their parents to then, you know, act on their healthcare. And it also almost encourages them to then start to have a role in their own healthcare at a young age. So
I think I just fell in love with you. I've never ever heard anyone speak about peds. So that was like
I think when
beautiful.
When you come from like trauma with adult nursing, and you then experience like this innocence that you basically are starting from scratch with them. You know, and adults, they've already had their bad experiences in healthcare. They've had that one bad nurse, or they've had that bad experience. You know, or they've gone down the path of drugs and alcohol and abuse and whatnot. You're starting with this human that is so untainted and has no preconceived ideas of what healthcare is, and you then start that journey with them. Like, I think it's amazing. And it's incredible you can feel the passion within the department for caring for children compared to what you feel in adults. You know, you don't get that. You don't feel that at all. Everyone's burnt out and exhausted. But then when you go into peds, people are there because they want to be there. Whereas adult nursing is just another job almost. Whereas working in peds, you need that level of patience and that level of understanding and passion for what you do. Otherwise, it's not going to work and they don't last. And you see that even with nurses that go between kids and adults is, they're just, oh God, I can't stand working for kids. It's because you don't have an understanding of what they're actually experiencing. And what such an important role you play, even in the parents then, you know, not being afraid to access emergency healthcare for their child and knowing that they're going to be taken care of. But so I do love working with children, and I do see myself now working somewhere along the lines, I don't know where it's going to be, whether it's going to be clinical, non-clinical, but I want to work within somewhere that's to do with children and developing also their health literacy too with you know, public health and whatnot. So but who knows, lots of doors have opened now that I've started in peds, and I've got such valuable experience on the front line, also working with the community and, you know, also seeing too what they come in with and what they think is an emergency too is really indicative of just like the lack of health literacy in the community. So love a public pediatric nurse job. Love that public health, working in the community, go to the schools. Yes, please. But
you heard it here.
yes. But
so it definitely sounds like you've got the passion for it. Like, I hope that all nurses feel like that.
And I think I haven't felt it for so long. And so you almost forget, like, why am I doing this? Like, what am I actually doing this for? You know, it's horrible, but you hate your life outside of work because you're just so drained and exhausted because you don't have passion for what you do anymore. And it really just becomes all consuming. But then you feel that shift within yourself. Like, it literally felt like I could take a full, like, good. I'm finally out of my fight or flight mode. I finally don't hate my life. I don't cry in the car before going into work. Like, it's a really nice feeling.
It's a pretty big jump to take. Like, I know I've worked with people previously who have felt like they're in that place of not enjoying their job anymore, going home and feeling empty, or coming into work feeling anxious, like they're just not in their place. Or like we were talking about earlier, like at what point is, you know, the the work culture just not enough to get you through the work itself. But yeah, you see people get trapped in that because they're too scared to take that jump.
So it becomes comfortable, it's familiar.
Yeah, so I'm interested to hear, like, what was your experience with taking that leap of faith and starting a job in a different place? I know you said you went from cath lab to ED and then going in through to ED peds. How did it look going through, taking that leap of faith and trying something new to get away from the negative space?
Yeah, well, it was a huge jump between adults to kids. It didn't feel as huge when I went from cath lab to ED because I'd already had then that critical care exposure, and it almost felt like, is it like Stockholm syndrome where that trauma feels familiar? So then you kind of gravitate towards it because you've experienced it before, you got through it, and so this feels familiar. So that almost didn't feel as like a massive jump for me, but then going from adults to kids, it was huge that I could suddenly then almost feel like I could be myself again. And so it almost felt like a free fall, but felt amazing. Like, it just felt like it was just the right thing to do. I could just feel within myself that this was like the right choice for me to take. And I've now thrived in kids. And it's been great.
So you didn't have that anxiety of starting in a new workplace where you're feeling a bit like fish out of water type thing, or you felt it but it was good because you liked work?
Within our department, you work occasionally, so you work within all different areas within ED. So you do shifts in children's.
Oh, so you got like a try before you buy.
Yeah, a little try before you buy. And I did the pediatric emergency nursing course. Well, like contract kind of thing where you only work in peds for 3 months, and then you kind of get a taste for it without committing if you really love it.
And it's to consolidate skills within emergency staff that haven't worked in peds before.
Right.
So it's 3 months of education along with the registrars who are doing their 3-month program. So it feels really like connected and
because I've never done peds, and if I had to do peds, I think I would die.
It's funny because everyone says that, but it's so easy. It's so easy compared to adult nursing. You don't have to consider any comorbidity.
Yeah, true.
They are unaffected, untainted. Give those fluids if you need. They don't have kidney failure. They don't have heart failure. Give that antibiotic because we know they don't have any interaction with other meds. Like, you can just give genuine, real treatment right up when you need to give it without considering any other kind of ailments.
And if they
going on.
they have this amazing support network of their parents or carers or whatever.
They already know what's going on.
Yeah, and they say their limit is
so
this,
true.
he has this much at this time, and someone who's communicating all their stuff so well.
Rather than trying to understand what set off the delirium in an 80-year-old that lives in a nursing home that has no family, and you're trying to play, guess which disease it is this time.
I suppose too, kids tend to bounce back a lot, like compared to
Oh,
adults. So at least you know, like, your treatments.
Yeah, exactly. They can go one way or the other, 0 to 100 real quick. So, but it's great because then you see this immediate change in their behaviour and their personality. And kids are so much more resilient than adults. Like, the amount of broken femurs I've seen, and the kids colouring in once they've got their cast on.
Oh, yeah.
You know, in an adult, they're pressing that button for that morphine, they're pressing the nurse call buzzer, moaning, groaning in pain.
Because it's like the psycho aspect of I have a broken leg, I need pain relief. Or a kid's like, oh, that's a lot more comfortable now.
Yeah, now that it's in this position and in a cast, I'm going to keep colouring in.
Yeah.
And it was also so incredible to see from a nursing perspective. Oh my gosh, like,
we adults need to toughen up.
You're incredible, you little human. You're like 5. Like, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's so great to then, watch, it's always so great to just watch how they change and recover and everything like that. And it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh my God, but like, medications you give us like so small. I'm like, yeah, you have an algorithm for it. Like, it's fine. Follow the rules and you're good. Like, it's really, but it's just, everyone thinks, oh my God, I could never do that. And I was the exact same. I could never work in peds. Oh my gosh, I wouldn't know how to do any of that. But everything is so much easier. It's so much more simplified.
That's really comforting.
Yeah, it's actually a really like fantastic demographic to work with. Yeah. So I'm really happy I ended up in peds.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you hated it.
No, I just hate ED. There's a difference. But no, kids, it's great. It's a lot of fun. Plus, I get to have stickers glittery stickers and
I can't imagine going into
we like
old granny.
bubbles.
Come on, granny.
Yeah. Yeah, sit with that blood pressure really still just for a second. But yeah, it gets to be a lot more fun. It's good.
Yeah.
You do, you get really creative.
Yeah.
Isn't it a shame we think of like things so creative and joyful with kids, but not with adults? Like you think of like, I don't know, even adults who have, they come in and they're really anxious for a procedure, and we're like, oh, you'll be right.
You're fine.
Toughen up. Oh, quick steam, quick steam. Like,
Thing, yeah.
not like we don't think outside the box for adults as much.
Because we think, you're an adult, toughen up and deal with it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Interesting space.
Yeah.
And what's next steps? You don't like ED, you love peds.
Yeah. I'd love to work directly with the community. So I'd love to just be within like a clinic within the community that's, supporting new parents and supporting kids and improving their health literacy, because it's the best way to get them to not come to ED. And I think I didn't even realise that was even going to be another passion of mine, because I never had that exposure to it. And you see adults come in for, stubbed toe to ED at 2 a.m. and you think, come on, mate, what are you doing? But then you see these parents with such genuine concern purely because they just don't know.
Yeah.
They just don't know any better, and they panic. And because they don't receive that kind of parenting, I guess, classes and courses and, all that kind of understanding on how to deal with illness in a child. And I think, my gosh, these poor parents are coming in, exposing themselves to influenza A, COVID, like gastro in the waiting room, where they've come in because they've got, a pulled elbow, and it's like, it's such a shame that, the parents and the kid get exposed to all that when they don't need to. So that's kind of started a new passion for me for wanting to improve health literacy within the community, so that stops them from coming into ED and giving them long waits and extra illnesses.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know what that's going to look like one day, but I really hope it doesn't include night shift. Whatever it is, I just don't want it to include night shift.
No one called, no night shift.
Yeah, no one called, no night shift.
Some little weekends sprinkled in there?
Yeah, when I feel like it, and I have a little bit more autonomy, a little bit more freedom. So I think that's what I really crave. And I'm a sucker for consistency and routine, and I love that, and I just don't get that. Anyway, we'll see where life takes me now that I've found a new passion for things.
Yeah, there'd be heaps of opportunities, especially when looking at like sort of like primary health nursing and what that looks like.
Yeah, so
it's kind of like an untapped area for like those
like
of us who go through the hospital system.
like a proper thorough way of actually managing the community. But I mean, there's always so many roadblocks that you don't realise. It's just a frontline worker seeing it and you go, yes, oh my god, this is what we need to do, but you don't understand there's X, Y and Z behind what's going on.
And then
I don't get it.
Parent education, in the sense that if you tell them something and they interpret it wrong, then it coming back to like the education you provided, and there's a lot that comes with community health and educating families.
But I think the thing is too, especially with paediatric health, is keeping things simple. It does not need to be complicated. It does not need to be, in-depth conversations. Parenting already, I can imagine, is incredibly overwhelming, especially with a new child. Like, you don't want to be then adding onto them by saying all these in-depth medical terms on what's happening and what you should be. No, keep it simple. Parental concern is a vital sign that we always assess for. So even if the child looks well, numbers are okay, but the parent's just concerned, it's something that you want them to feel confident to.
Yeah, it's actually on our sepsis pathway.
Yeah,
parental concern is a tick towards sepsis.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, so I'd love to then give more power to the parents in promoting also healthcare for their child, and then accessing the right services they need before it gets to a stage of sepsis. Or gets to a stage of, any kind of more severe illness when it could be prevented. Yeah. So I don't know. See where it goes. We'll see what happens. I don't see that there's a lot out there that does that. So yeah, it would be great to be a bit more involved that way.
I think that also draws into where we were speaking last week, and the question she asked at the end is, when you get to where you want to be, are you content there, or are you looking for something else? And I think you're content in almost like this area now. Like, you're not looking for your next thing in nursing as like, I don't know what I want to do. Are you trying to like pinpoint almost how that looks for you?
I think the goalpost constantly changes. You meet a goal, and then within that journey of getting to that goal, you develop your next goal. And I think that's in like every aspect of life, but like especially in nursing, you then develop new passions along the way of what you actually love and what you don't love. And I found that, I got to my dream job. I got to ED, that's where I wanted to be. And now I've discovered I love pediatric nursing. I did not know I'd love that 5 years ago. No way. If you said I was going to be a peds nurse, I would have laughed at you. I said, no way, I'm not going to do this. That's horrible. But now that I'm here and I'm like, great, well, what's my next goal? So I feel like you never really get to that dream job because you develop all these different passions along the way that you didn't know you were going to get.
My husband always says to me, just enjoy the process because you'll never be satisfied at your end goal.
No.
Like you'll get there and you'll be like, well now what? Like,
yeah, I know. My husband says the same thing. He's like, no, just enjoy the journey. And I'm like, do you know me at all?
Yeah.
What? Do you know who you're talking to right now? What about the destination? Which keeps seeing further and further and further because you think another goal, other goal. Yeah.
So I suppose to conclude, do you have a question to ask our next guest?
My biggest thing that I'm even asking myself now, which I would love to ask someone else as well, which hopefully will be your next guest, will be, when does the work culture not become enough? I love the people I work with, but the work itself is still very taxing, especially the environment we work in. And I'm debating at the moment whether, the work team I work with is beautiful, but when is that just not enough?
It's been a joy.
I've had so much fun.